Hello, my name is Dave and I'm one of the area managers here at Serve Legal. I'm creating this video to discuss media compliance work, or as it's more commonly known, PubTV. Simply put, PubTV work involves going into a set list of pubs or venues during a certain football game and seeing whether that said football game is visible on the TV screens inside the venue. The work is fast and does not require you to purchase anything. However, we do audit during certain football games, and so the dates and times of the games can be a little bit limited. We have two main clients for this work. So we've got Sky Sports and we've got BT Sport, and the work varies between either client. I'm going to split this video into 5 different parts to talk you through how to complete the work. So these are getting work, planning work, doing the work, completing your audit, and then any additional information at the end. So section 2 involves getting the work. So you receive any work through contact with your area manager. So we have a set list of dates and times available throughout the UK, and you basically need to let us know which of those you can work from. So those dates and times are usually found in the monthly newsletter. So the newsletter is sent towards the end of the month with the upcoming dates for the following month. So for example, I would send the dates for April in the last week of March. So the newsletter will look like this. So this is what the newsletter looks like. You can see the newsletter has this section here called upcoming dates, and this will have all the upcoming dates, times, games and areas available to test. Just to confirm, in terms of the areas, any that say nationwide means we can test anywhere in the UK. Once you've received this newsletter and reviewed the dates, you just need to text your area manager and let them know when you're available to help. Don't forget to read the rest of the information as well. So there is important stuff in it, news, audit of the months, job vacancies, any important changes. So just make sure you go through that and have a good read over it. When you contact your area manager with your available dates, they make a note of this availability. And then what we do is we basically see whether we can get you any work on those dates. Sometimes there won't be any work available on the dates you've given, but we will always let you know if that is the case. Just to confirm, there is no requirement for you to complete a certain amount of audits per week, per month, whatever it is. A big benefit of working with Serve Legal is the flexible nature of it. You can complete as much or as little as you want. If you're not available for a game, a few games or even the whole month, that's absolutely fine. Just let us know when you are available to work and we can work with that. If work is available in your area on the dates that we've given you, we then assign that to your Serve Legal profile. We tend to try and assign this work around a week to 10 days before the game day, just so you have plenty of time to know when you're going to be out and where you're going to be going. When the work's assigned, you will get an automated email from info@servelegal.co.uk, which will basically just say the work has been assigned. But your area manager will also message you, asking you to confirm if the work is okay. To view the work, you must sign into your Serve Legal profile. And if you click up here onto your audits tab, you can obviously see the site names, the locations, the pay and the visit deadline. So the site location is obviously the site in question, location obviously is the postcode. The visit deadline over here is the date that we would want you to complete the work on. So for example, the visit deadline on here is the 22nd of March. So in this example, the visit deadline, the game that we want you to test is the 22nd of March. All you need to do is just go over these and check whether there's any issues with the sites. So for example, if the sites are too far away, whether you know somebody who works there or owns the place, or even if you've been barred from one of the sites, just let us know and we can look at replacing that batch and potentially giving you ones that work better for you. If everything is okay, please also confirm with your area manager so that we are aware. So the next section is planning. So after work has been assigned and confirmed by yourself, you will shortly after receive an email that's titled planning form, and that will be sent by your area manager. So your planning form looks like such. Within the body of the email, you're able to see the information about what date, what time, what game we're testing, and then any sort of further information that may be relevant at this point. There's going to be at least 3 attachments to the email, which you can see here. So firstly, just here in the middle, we have the PDF briefing document. So this will tell you exactly what you need to do on the audit in a step-by-step basis. Next, we've got the grid document. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. But thirdly, and probably most importantly for now, is the planning form. So you are required to complete a planning form and return it to your area manager before every single batch of audits. if you fail to complete your planning form, we can't let you go out and do the work. So it is essential. So just to show you what this planning form looks like, this is the Sky planning, the BT planning form. So the Sky one is quite similar to this. The planning form, I would say, is split into three main sections. So to go through those, the first one is just this declarations page at the start. So all you need to do is go through these match information and the declarations and just basically replace the information. So I've just loaded this up in Word. So all you need to do, as I say, just go through said sections. The information that you need for this match information will be in the body of the email. So if I scroll up here, you can see, yeah, the game we're looking for is Aston Villa versus Arsenal, for example. So all I would need to do in here, please enter the relevant game. I could just enter Aston Villa. You just do that and you edit each of those sections. The second page here is the route plan. So the best way I've found to do the route plan is by using a site called bing.com/maps. So Bing Maps looks like such. All you need to do is when you go onto your audit profile, you can see we've got these postcodes here. So you would enter the list, your first postcode in here. So you can see B966EF. So I could just enter B966EF, and that will obviously locate where that is. What you then do is you come over here and you press this directions button, and it doesn't matter whether you put to or from. Site B here, you would then put the second postcode, so B980B8. That then gives us the distance between them. I can then add another destination, so B975AF. I can then add another destination, so B98OQD, and so on and so forth. So I do that for all of the sites that I've got. What we then need to do is manually just edit the sites so it's the quickest route. So you can just have a play around with this. All you need to do is obviously press and hold the site in question, and you can move this to anywhere in this list. So I've got site D at the moment, which is this one up here. So if I wanted to put that first, I can move that to the top, and that will do the first. So you can work your way around with all the different combinations that you've got, and obviously this time here will change. So you just need to do that until you get the quickest time. So that is the quickest route for that site. What we then need to do is once you've got that quickest route, you just need to screenshot or use the snipper tool and just transfer that into the grid, the route plan on the platform. That now, so I just copy, and then into this, I can just paste that in there. Down here, it's a bit further down, but then I just need to put the route length, so 8.1 miles, and the route time, 20 minutes. Once you've done that, you then move on to the third section of this site list here. What you need to do is first just put the postcodes in order. So using this route up here, so my first site is B980QD. Second site is B980BA. My third site is B975AF, and my fourth site is B966EF. I then return to my site list here, and I would basically just note down which site relates to which postcode. So they're obviously all down as a test, but to make it up, I might call this one the Red Lion. This one might be the Bell, Hare and Hounds, and for example. So we've got 4 sites there. I've got the name and the postcode. I then need to move over to this one and to do open or closed. So for BT, we do need to check whether the sites will be open or closed at the time of the audit. This is quite simple to do. So all it requires is just a Google search of the site name and the site postcode. So to give you an example, if I come up here and type in, to give you an example, grazing cow TF35EX, if that was one of mine, I could look at this. Now at the moment, for example, it's 10:33, so it says closed on here. If the game was Saturday at 12:30, I can look at these open hours, see Saturday it's open at 12 till 10, so it will be open at the time of the audit. So I'd come back here and I would just say open. If this, for example, on the Saturday said 3 till 10 PM and the game was at 12:30, that obviously would be closed at the time of the audit. So I could just put closed and then Google search out of hours in here. On occasions as well, it does come up with temporarily closed here or permanently closed. So on this section here, just make a note if the site's going to be open or closed. You then complete that open and close search for every single site that you've got and just comment whether it's going to be open or closed. For BT, if the sites are closed, we cannot audit them during the game time. So what you would do is you note them, I received that, I would remove them if they were closed, and I would look to replace them with other sites that were going to be open to ensure you aren't losing out. One of the main differences between Sky and BT work is for Sky, we don't have to do that closed site search. So for Sky, we audit every single site, regardless as to whether it's going to be open or closed. It's probably still worthwhile you Google searching the site name in the same way that you would for BT, just to see whether there's any issues with the site. So whether the site's changed name or it's changed its business or it's closed down, that is still useful to know. But be all and end all is for Sky, we audit every single site. You need to return the planning form to me by a certain deadline or to your area manager by a certain deadline. That deadline is included in the body of the email. If there's any issues with that deadline, please let your area manager know as soon as possible. As I said before, without that planning form, we can't let you do the work, so we do need it back and we would like it back by that deadline. The area manager will always confirm to you that the planning form has been received. So they'll either send a message back saying everything's fine, the planning form looks good, or if there's any issues with it, they will sort of comment on those or replace the sites, as I said earlier, but you will always receive a reply in terms of the planning form. Once everything on your planning form has been returned, I would personally basically transfer that site list into your notes app on your phone, or have the planning form saved somewhere where you can easily access it, just so you can very quickly access what sites you're going to be doing on the day itself. And that is your planning done. So the next section is actually about the auditing and how you complete the work. So to start with, about 2 or 3 hours before kickoff, you will be contacted by what we call a matchday coordinator. So the matchday coordinator is a serve legal staff member, and their job is to be your support and to essentially be on call. So if you have any problems, any questions, anything you want to double check during the game itself, you have the matchday coordinator there to contact. So please don't struggle. Please don't think you're alone. You will have the matchday coordinator. There are certain games where we don't have many auditors going out. We've got quite a small amount of volume that we won't have a matchday coordinator. But if that's the case, I will let you know, and I will let you know who to get in touch with if there's any issues. The matchday coordinator will also tell you when the game has begun. So they'll text you to say the game's kicked off. And that's your invitation to start your audits. So when you get that text message, first thing you would just enter your first site. First thing to look for is, are there any TVs in the venue? If there are TVs, how many are there? Are any of them turned on? And if they are turned on, what are they showing? In terms of what's showing, if sport isn't showing, the detail doesn't matter as much. We don't require an in-depth description of what was on. Still get something very brief down. So you might say BBC News or quiz show on ITV, a documentary on Channel 4, music videos on Kiss, for example. But it doesn't need to be too in-depth. If sport is showing, that's where we need the extra detail. So please take your time if you do see sport showing in any of the sites. If sport is showing, there are 4 things that we ask for. So firstly, what sport is on? So is it football, cricket, rugby, racing, etc., etc. And secondly, what teams are playing if it is a team sport. Now, what we want for the teams is the full name, if possible. But if you're unsure on the team names, the team initials will be absolutely fine. So normally in the top corner of the screen, you will have the score. And as part of that, either side of the score, it will have the team initials. So for example, Liverpool is normally down as LIV. So if you're unsure on the full team names, those team initials will be absolutely fine. Third thing we need, if sport is showing, is we do need the specific channel name, including any sub-channels. So what I mean by that is, for example, we can't just say the game was on Sky Sports. We need to know, is it Sky Sports main event, Sky Sports Premier League, Sky Sports Football, Sky Sports Cricket? Or to give you a BT example, is it BT Sport 1 HD live, BT Sport 2 HD, BT Sport 3 live? Whatever that sub-channel is, we need as well. So that will be on the screen. So you're essentially just copying what you see on the screen. Final thing we need if sport is showing is any watermarks or codes that you see on the screen. So watermarks are the weird little symbols that you often come across on the screen, and there will be examples of those within the briefing document. So please do familiarise yourself with that watermark section, and just so you know what you're going to be looking out for. Codes are normally in the top right hand corner of the screen. They are quite small and can be quite difficult to read. So please do your best to make a note of codes if you see it. But if you're able to only note down a couple of digits, for example, that's absolutely fine. Just do your best to get down what you need. Just as a bit of context for you, all of the sites that we've given you for either client will not have that client's licensing. So for example, if we give you a bunch of Sky sites, all of the sites we give you do not have Sky Sports licensing. So that means when you go to these sites, none of them should be showing Sky Sports, and therefore none of them should be showing the Sky Sports game that we've asked you to look for. That should make life a little bit easier for you, because it means the majority of sites that you go to, if not all of them, will just be a case of saying one screen off, or they didn't have screens, or they were showing BBC News, for example. It's only the odd site where we're going to need that extra bit of detail. So we normally find around 5% of sites will be showing the game, so 5% of sites we will need that detail. Okay, that is very much an average, but the point being it should be a little bit quicker for you because it's only the odd site where we need the extra information. As well as that, on the TVs, we do also ask that you look out for any external or internal advertisements relating to sport. So what I mean by that is any posters, stickers, banners, chalkboards, fixture lists, anything that indicates they may be showing sport in the future. Just make a note of what you saw and where you saw it. So you might say Sky Sports banner on external wall, or BT Sport fixture list in the toilet, for example. That's everything in terms of the Sky work. For BT, there is a couple of extra steps. So two things. So firstly, we do have to check whether the site has its own Wi-Fi. So all you would do is when you're in the site or in the near vicinity of the site, just go to your settings on your phone and just see whether the site's own name appears as an option to join. So what I mean by site's own name is it would have to be, say, the Red Line Wi-Fi or the Crown's Head Wi-Fi. If it says Sky Broadband or the Cloud, for example, that doesn't count. It has to be very clearly in the pub's own name. Do also have a look whether that's an open or closed network. So do you need a password to be able to join it or not? Finally, in the report, it will also ask you to describe the layout of the venue. So that just needs to be a brief description of what the pub looks like. So you may say something along the lines of you enter the bars to your left and the seating area with a fireplace to the right, for example. Just something very brief like that is great. Once you've got all that information from inside the venue, you just turn around and leave. So as I mentioned, no need to buy anything. It's very much in, get what you need, and then leave. The majority of the time you can walk in and walk out unnoticed. But say if you walk into an empty pub and the barman says, "Can I help you?" for example, we do just need to have an excuse ready to go. So for want of a better phrase, we are undercover on the work. The pubs don't know that we're going in. So excuses you may use are, I was just looking for a friend or a family member. Can I use the toilet? Do you know directions to a cash point or a petrol station? You may even just say, have you got a food menu I could look at? Any of those reasons get you in and get you back out without the need to spend any money. When you leave the venue, we just need a site photo for every single place that you go to. So that's at the outside of the pub. If you can get the front of the pub and the name, that's perfect. We basically look at those photos just to check that you've been to the right place. So as long as we can establish that from your photo, that's great. Those photos do also need to be timestamped. So if you go into App Store or Play Store or whatever store that you've got and type in timestamp, there's loads of different apps that come up that will be able to do that timestamp function for you. What it is it basically prints the date and time the photo was taken onto the photo itself, and that allows us to check whether you've been during the game or not. We do need the timestamp photo, so I would always recommend downloading an app 1 or 2 days before your audit and just making sure you know how that works. Once you've got all that, you then move on to your next site and you repeat the process. And the aim is to get to as many as you possibly can doing that process. Hopefully you get to them all, but if you run out of time, it's not a major issue. Just do your best, get to as many as you can, and that's fine. The matchday coordinator will text you when the game has ended. Please don't complete any audits after that time. We won't be able to accept them. So when you get that text to say to finish, please stop auditing. And that is how you complete your audits. So the next stage of the audit is completing your reports and how you get that information over to us. So for every single site that you audit, you will have a report to submit on your Served Equal profile explaining what you saw at each venue. So how to do this? You must go back to where you saw the site list on your profile. So this is your audits tab. On the right hand side, you can see this button that says Start Audit. If you're using the ServEagle app, you would just press on the site and then this Start Audit button would appear. When you press this Start Audit button, so to give you an example, it loads this information page. This can be useful to double check, for example, the address here. Obviously this one isn't right, but you can check the address, you've got the briefing documents, and any important information can be found here as well. If you scroll to the bottom, you can see we've got 3 buttons here. We have Send Location, View Questions, and Start Audit. The Send Location button is useful when you're at the site itself. So this geotags your location so we can see you are definitely at the right place. I do recommend using this, however, it's not currently essential. If you press this Start button again, it loads this screen. You can just press Enable to Send, and then it loads up the questions that you need to answer. Please don't be concerned here when it says question 1 of 45, and you will never need to answer 45 questions. We operate what we call branching, so your answers to your questions determine which questions you actually need to answer. So just to show you an example, in this question, did you identify during planning any reason why we should not visit the site? This is question 1 of 45. If we manage to complete the audit, we just press no, and you can see this straight away skips to question 4 of 45 because questions 2 and 3 are no longer relevant. So you'll never need to answer 45 questions. It is quicker than potentially it looks. You just need to work through the report, answering the questions one by one. So as you can see, the questions are fairly straightforward. Apologies, I wasn't meant to do that. You can see the questions are straightforward. You just work through them like so. You can just put any answers in and so on and so forth. So when you've answered all your questions, it will load up this Review Your Answers page, so you can obviously double check everything that you've written. If everything's fine, you press this next button and it loads this extra details page. So first thing to do is to obviously enter the date and time. That is the date and time the audit was completed, rather than the date and time that you complete the report. So I might say this was done on the 22nd of March at 9:30. We also have the mileage section down here. So obviously all you need to do is enter the number of miles that you drove, and you can select whether that's, when I say drove, that is also cycling and walking is included. You just need to select your type. We have travel expenses. So for example, if you've got the bus, you can claim that in here. So £1 on the bus, £21 as I've accidentally put. Reclaimable expenses, anything like car park, we do cover the cost of that as well. So just make sure that's fine. If everything is filled out, you press this Submit Audit button here, and you will get this congratulations message. And you can see at the bottom, it says that audit is submitted. If you then press Back to Audit, it then takes you back to your remaining outstanding audits. And then you just repeat the process with the second site, the third site, the fourth site, and the fifth site until you've done all of the sites that you need to. Whilst the reports themselves don't take ages to complete, we don't really want you doing these when you're out and about the site. That's just because the audit itself is quite time restricted, and completing the sites on the go is essentially just going to slow you down. So what we suggest to do is take some shorthand notes about what you see at each site, but when you're under the time pressure, and then when you're back home and you're not under that time pressure, you can use those notes to help you submit your audits more thoroughly. So you can either use something like the Notes app on your phone, or you can use a notepad or pen, or one of the things that we do send you is the grid document. So just to show you down here, this is an example of the Sky Grid document. So you can see it's got all the questions that you need to answer across the top. So you can do this on your phone again, or print it out. So you can print out, I did this site at this time, this is what I saw at these sites, and you can shorthand your notes at them. However you take your notes, we do want you to keep those notes for at least 8 weeks as a minimum. That is essential, and that's in case either ourselves or the client queries anything and we need to get in touch with you to confirm any details. Obviously, say 7 weeks have gone by and we say how many TVs were at X site, you're not going to remember off the top of your head. So we need you to keep those notes so we are getting an accurate reply from you if that situation arises. The only difference with how you take your notes is that if for BT, so for the client BT, if you see the relevant game showing at a BT Sports site, you must take some notes as part of the grid document. You can't just use your notes app on your phone, you have to use the grid document. So to show you what that looks like this. So it's just basically got the key questions down here, and you can obviously fill it out for these. These are only if you see the game showing. What you then need to do is you then need to photograph or screenshot that grid document and submit that on the grid prompt. So to show you what that looks like, it's this one up here. So it will say BT grid prompt. You press start, obviously go back into start audit. You upload a photo of your grid prompt, you say I've done it, and then you just submit that audit, as it were. In terms of when the reports need doing, they need submitting within 3 hours of full time. So to give you an example, if the game starts at 12:30 and it will finish approximately 2 hours later, so about 2:30. So we need your reports in 3 hours after that, so by 5:30. Any issues with that, please let the match day coordinator know. And that's how you send us your information. So the final section to this briefing video is other information. The most important thing I'm sure you're all wondering about is the pay. So you are paid per audit. So the more sites you get to, the more money you're going to make. That's why that planning stage that we talked about is critically important. Because the shortest route you go, the more sites you're going to get to, the more money you're going to earn. The pay per audit does vary, and that varies based on the number of audits that are viable, the distance you travel, and the urgency of work. The pay generally is around the £4 to £5 mark, and you're usually able to complete on average around 10 to 15 sites per game. So that gives you a total pay approximately per game of between £40 and £75 per game. That pay doesn't include the mileage, so we do cover your mileage from home to home. As shown in the previous video, all you need to do is enter the number of miles driven per site, or what you can do is you can put all of the miles in one report and leave the others blank. And then the finance team just work out how much that works out to as a monetary value. In terms of when you're paid, that is every other Wednesday, so every fortnight. We have a pay cut off on a Monday on the week before payday. So any audits approved on or before this time will be in that payroll. The easiest way to see when you're going to be paid and what you're going to be paid for is if you go into the Serve Legal website and you press this button here that says tips and docs. It will load up this screen. On the search bar here, if you type in pay date or pay date calendar, it comes up with this document here. Now you can load this and it will tell you some information and how to sort of raise queries about pay. And it also has this calendar here. So that will tell you when payday is, obviously in the red, and payroll cut off in the green. The quantity of available work we can give you does depend on the games that we have in that month and the sites that we are given by the client. Sometimes the months can be really busy, other times they can be a little bit quieter. We do usually communicate this within the newsletter. On average, I would say we test at least 3 games a week, although that does not mean you will work all 3 games. That means there is plenty of opportunity to get involved on the whole. We do have other non-age restricted work available. However, at the time of making this video anyway, it is a little bit more limited, and the PubTV is the main bulk of the work we offer non-age restricted auditors. If there is other non-age restricted work available, this again will be communicated in the newsletter, or you will be contacted by another Serve Legal member of staff who will ask you to be completing this work. We do also run a refer a friend bonus scheme, which is a nice, easy way that you can make some money. So if you know anybody that would be interested in joining Serve Legal, you can direct them to our website. So that's www.servelegal.co.uk, and if they put /apply, that takes them into the sign up process. As part of that sign up process, you'll have done it yourself and you'll know how that works. There is a part that asks us how that person heard about Serve Legal. If your friend enters your name in that section and then completes a certain number of audits, you get £10 for referring them. So as I say, a nice, easy way to make some money. We're also on the main social media channels, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. So feel free to give us a like or a follow. We do also have a Serve Legal community Facebook page, which is more audited led. So we do run competitions, we give away prizes and bonuses. We have a little bit of fun on it. So please feel free to join on the link that I will enter here. And that concludes the briefing video. If you have any questions, please get in contact with your area manager. If you don't have any questions and everything's made sense, then brilliant. But please text your area manager to say there's no questions, and also please text them the keyword here. And that just shows that you've watched the video. So thank you very much for your time. I hope everything's made sense, and we look forward to working with you at Serve Legal.